So without further ado, I will start by thanking, first of all, the Minister of Finance, Dr. Christos Staikouras, who has another role as an active professor of economics, as well as Mr. Yannis Tsakiris. He's the Deputy Minister of Development and Investments, and they're here today to share their views and their opinions on the education of sustainability finance, because it's an issue that is gaining a lot of attention on the agenda, not only in Greece, but worldwide. So I'll give the floor to you, Minister.
Thank you very much. It is with great pleasure that I'm here today, if only digitally, for introducing the kickoff event of the 2021 CSR School. I would like to congratulate CSR Hellas for its third consecutive year of launching this renewed executive education program on corporate sustainability and responsibility. I would also like to congratulate CSR School's distinguished partners, the University of Creta, the Alba Business School, and the Center of Excellence for Sustainability of the American College of Greece for participating and supporting this notable educational initiative. As Minister of Finance and a university professor, I firmly believe in such partnerships for education. Even more so for an initiative such as the CSR School, taking place at a time when our country, as well as the rest of the world, is faced with particular challenges, but also opportunities. Over 1 year has passed since the outbreak of the pandemic, during which societies and economies have been severely tested. In Greece, the government has been dealing with the health crisis and its impact through the implementation of a coherent and dynamic plan. We have strengthened public health, supported households and employment, boosted business liquidity, and safeguarded social cohesion, with measures totaling around 40 billion euros in the period 2020-2021. The Greek government, while successfully handling the pandemic crisis, has been bold also in promoting structural reforms, improving the country's competitiveness, and empowering corporate governance constitutes, at the Ministry of Finance, our constant and central goal. In this direction, Law 4706/2020 has set a new, improved legislative framework that modernized corporate governance in Greece. A new framework that will enhance stakeholders' trust in the company, guarantee its proper and transparent operation, and advance its path towards long-term sustainable corporate growth. However, the post-coronavirus era will bring forth new challenges. In this context, we must bear in mind that this health and economic crisis is closely linked to the ecosystem's delicate balance, to climate change, and to the level of sustainability incorporated into the structure of our economies. Therefore, we must all be determined to win the bet of achieving a green and inclusive growth in the wake of the pandemic. Sustainability is a term that has been gradually moving at the forefront of political and economic discussions. However, since over 1 year ago, when the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic caused an unprecedented social and economic crisis on a global level, sustainability has been at the center of the international policy agenda. In this framework, promoting sustainable finance and responsible corporate governance can only be considered as fundamental in our way to recovery. It was 15 years ago when environmental, social, and corporate governance criteria were mentioned for the first time as the core of the United Nations 6 Principles for Sustainable Investment. When the principles were launched in 2006, the PRI signatories amounted at about 100 institutional investors. Today, the PRI signatories are more than 3,000, and according to the OECD, ESG criteria are now part of mainstream international finance. Moreover, as has been confirmed in reports by the United Nations, as well as number of investor surveys, the COVID-19 crisis has urged investors towards including sustainability factors in their financial decision-making. In other words, ESG data disclosure has become a valued instrument for investors in their quest for risk minimization and return maximization, and companies that have adopted this approach gain added value and competitive advantage. At the same time, policymakers are increasingly aware that promoting sustainable finance and responsible corporate conduct fosters a favorable investment environment and therefore benefits a country's economic growth prospects. Ladies and gentlemen, it is clear that the perception of a company's success is now more than ever linked not only to its product's price and quality, but also to the way this company interacts with its stakeholders, as well as its external environment, other businesses, consumers, and of course, the natural environment. It is also a fact that increased international interest in ESG principles is linked to the wider international effort to address the challenges of climate change. Year 2015 was marked by the adoption of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals by the United Nations, as well as the Paris Agreement to limit global warming. In 2018, the European Union put forward a concrete action plan for financing sustainable growth. And then, in 2019, the European Green Deal was launched, setting new ambitious climate goals and initiating the establishment of a new framework for reaching these goals. Since then, and while facing unexpected and complicated challenges, Europe has moved forward with transitioning to a new economic model where ESG criteria adoption and disclosure will become obligatory for a wide range of economic activities. The 2020 EU taxonomy regulation acts as a cornerstone, creating a unified classification system and providing market participants, investors and companies with a common understanding of sustainable economic activities. A few months ago, on March 10, 2021, the Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation partially came into force, while more recently, in the April legislative package on sustainable finance, the European Commission adopted a proposal for a corporate sustainability reporting directive, which would amend the existing reporting requirements of the previous directive. The Ministry of Finance has been working closely with the Capital Markets Commission, the Bank of Greece, and all related parties and stakeholders from the public and private sectors in order to ensure the timely, orderly, and effective transition to the new sustainable financial and corporate governance framework. Our goal is to ensure that ESG principles and disclosures are incorporated and provide a tool for the growth and extroversion of Greek companies, leaving no one behind. The alignment of economic growth with Greece's ambitious environmental and climate targets has been a major pillar of the government strategy since the beginning. These targets have been set in the Greek Energy and Climate Plan and are supported by our Cyclical Economic Action Plan and the Just Transition Development Plan. The Ministry of Finance has been also actively participating since October 2019 in the Coalition of Finance Ministers for Climate Action, where 62 finance ministers from all over the world collaborate with the aim of successfully integrating sustainability in our economic policies. Also, in accordance with international and European best practices, we are gradually adopting a green state budgeting framework as basis for further promoting sustainable public financing. In this moment of the history, sustainability is more than ever tightly linked to the recovery of societies and economies. Greece 2.0, our ambitious as well as realistic national recovery and resilience plan, will be key in achieving growth through the financing of sustainable and green projects. It is indicative that the plan dedicates around 38% and 25% of available funds to the green and digital transitions, respectively, thus surpassing the mandatory minimum set by the European Commission. With a budget of around 30 billion euros to support innovation, the digitalization of public and private sectors, the cyclical economy, a just transition for elite areas, reskilling and education, employment and social cohesion, the Greek plan intends to mobilize investments of almost 60 billion euros. Our national RRP employs public-private partnerships and the active collaboration with the private sector as a key instrument in moving Greece forward and towards economic transformation. It also supports education as a driving force for making sure that this transformation is effective as well as sustainable. This is a historical moment when partnerships for education are of the utmost importance. Through education, we can ensure that Greek companies will have the necessary know-how in order to remain competitive and sustainable in a changing and demanding international environment. Partnerships can bring together businesses, society, and academia in order to deal effectively with what is today a great challenge as well as a unique opportunity, recovering from the crisis while transitioning successfully to a new, resilient economic model. In this respect, to timely and effectively promote awareness and a new perspective of the role of businesses is of the utmost importance. Such a partnership is the 2021 CSR School, aiming to provide education and training on the identification of sustainability-related business opportunities and the inclusion of responsibility in business strategies. Its stated goal is to help businesses achieve sustainable value and formulate more resilient organizations. Structured around 12 dedicated thematic webinars and having engaged distinguished academics and experienced senior professionals, this program provides a solid example of a private sector initiative which can act in full harmony and complementarity with the government's effort to prepare companies for the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. I wish every success to the 2021 CSR School and hope that CSR Hellas will continue introducing such noteworthy education initiatives, which will continue being received with similar attention and interest. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you on behalf of all the board of directors of CSR Hellas, Mr. Staikouras. It's not only an honor to have you here as the Minister of Finance, but also as a professor of economics. And for me, coming from the business world, it's very important to see all the very spot on things that you've raised. And I have 3-4 points. You mentioned ESG criteria as part of mainstream finance. This is, a few years ago, this would be, out of the agenda, out of the question. Sustainability factors on their financial decision-making, perception of company success, not only because of their quality and the price of products and services, but also because of the demands of the stakeholders. And also you mentioned economic growth combined with bold climate targets. And I think, and I speak on behalf of everybody to see that the representative of the Greek government bringing so many important sustainability issues on the agenda, it's great news for us. So I would like to thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you once again.
And now we can move ahead with another representative from the Greek government, Mr. Yannis Tsakouras. He's the Deputy Minister of Development and Investments, and he's here to share his views as well. Mr. Tsakouras, the word is yours.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's also a great honor for me to be invited in this continuous effort of CSR Hellas to not only to educate the Greek entrepreneurs and the Greek companies, but also to put significant effort towards the development of corporate social responsibility throughout the whole Greek market. Minister Staikouras gave a very comprehensive picture, not only from the perspective of the government, but I would say from the real perspective of the economy, of how we should proceed towards sustainable development in conjunction, of course, with the corporate social responsibility. And I would like simply to add some bits and pieces on this picture. First of all, I think that everything starts from the education. And if there's something that there's missing in the Greek economy is education for critical issues such as sustainable development, issues that they're going to shape our future. So again, it's an excellent initiative, and I wish to see many more like this. Now, when it comes to the CSR issue and sustainable development, I think that throughout those years, we have reached, I would say, a satisfactory level when it comes to the critical mass for corporate social responsibility in the Greek market. What we need now, I think, there are two things. First of all, we need to reach the base. So the critical mass is there. We need to spread down and reach all the base that our economy, our entrepreneurship, our companies are consisting. Secondly, I think it's time that corporate social responsibility to be more, not aligned, it is fully aligned, but to be more together, I would say, sticking together with sustainable development. So be fully focused on that topic. When it comes to the Ministry of Development and Investments, you know very well that there is a national strategy for corporate social responsibility, a strategy that, from what I recall, has, I think 3 years ago, or something like this, was a bit updated. I guess it needs to be updated once, since corporate social responsibility, the strategy is something dynamic and needs to be revisited at least once a year, so that to encompass all the trends and all the goals that global organization are putting. Now, when it comes to the enterprises, to the Greek enterprises, obviously the recent pandemic has accelerated changes. And now it's not enough to talk about survival. So companies need to see and choose between viability and sustainable development. Survival is not anymore on the table. We have gone through beyond this level. So it's about viability and sustainable development. And I guess we need to move towards sustainable development. When it comes to the global framework, as also Minister said, the 17 sustainable goals of United Nations, I think it's a great tool. It's a great tool that aligns all the economies on a global basis, gives a common framework, which will, I think, accelerate more the efforts towards achieving more when it comes to sustainable development. Staying on the market, another point that I would like to say is that we see that a lot of startup companies are encompassing immediately the corporate social responsibility and sustainable development targets, and that's of great pleasure. But it's also very practical because in order a small startup company to be investable needs to have this type of strategy, because on the other hand, the investors, which were, I would say, well educated, are even more and more looking for investments into companies that they're encompassing CSR and sustainable development. So that's the points that I wanted to, let's say, complement what Minister Staikouras said. And also not to forget that corporate social responsibility and education, and also sustainable development and education should also be very strong when it comes within the company. So not only to students, but also in company education, because what we need is for our economy to go ahead very quick, we need a responsible employee, but at the same time, he has to be also a responsible citizen. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I wish you every success in this summer camp of corporate of CSR Hellas and Alba School. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tsakiris. I think you said it all when you said in the beginning, everything starts from the education, and I couldn't agree with you more, and also on two levels, both inside the company and for students. And this is what exactly CSR School is doing, is giving the opportunity to both business people, but also students from universities. You mentioned well-educated investors, which of course I agree with you as well. We look at it on an everyday basis, the investors looking out for companies that work responsibly. And it's a great pleasure that you shared your views with us. It seems you seem like a person that is quite qualified and knows how sustainable finance is working. Before we finish the introduction, I would like to...
I've been an investor before, so...
That's why. I can tell you from the other part of the business that the investors that are looking into the big corporations have put the ESG criteria very high on the agenda, and you have to prove yourself. And this does not take a few months to do. It takes a lot of commitment and strategic decisions and decision making, and education for all the organizational structure in a company is, as you mentioned, vital. Maybe Maria Alexi wants to join in. I can see you've raised your hand, Maria. Do you want to, shall I give the floor to you?
Yes, please, Stavroula. Let me also thank both Minister Staikouras and Minister Tsakiris for this exceptional honor to join us and to support and empower, allow me to say, this endeavor. I fully endorse what Minister Tsakiris just said, and I would like to take this opportunity to say that as CSRLAS, we work now more than 20 years towards this direction. And particularly in respect to CSR School, we would like not only to thank the members of our organization that support this endeavor, this very challenging endeavor, because it is an international school, it has an international footprint. And I take this opportunity to announce that because we work in this field, which is really for us the fundamental effort we need to take in order to see the change we work for, CSR School has invited professors from different countries, not only Greece, to support this private-public partnership. And today is also with us as a guest, let's say, as a guest, a special guest, Professor Petkoski from Wharton Business School, who is working also with the World Bank and many institutions in many countries to make SDGs 2030 the way we do things and the way we create solutions. So from my side, in order to save time before we go to our respective panel, Stavroula, I would like to ask Mr. Tsakiris to stay only a few minutes with us and listen Professor Petkoski, who is going to give us his very useful insight for the importance of the CSR School also in a global scale. So CSR School is supported not only by the two respective ministries of Greece, but also some very important Greek companies. But what is more significant is that we also have the opportunity to share with a broad spectrum of academians, but also professionals, what CSR is about. And we are really proud because in this year CSR School, we will have some really very distinguished partners in this endeavor. And of course, we have also not only exceptional partners from the academia, we have exceptional partners also from business, and among us, some case studies we will analyze are coming from the European Investment Bank, but also from, let's say, the most outstanding exams of sustainable business models worldwide. Like, for example, the case of Enel or the case of Signify. So this is what makes CSR School unique, not only in Greece. And thank you again, Mr. Tsakiris. Give us only a few minutes to allow Professor Petkoski to tell us that in an hour from now, World Bank is going to give special awards to students from universities who not only care about SDGs 2030, but they come with solutions to the problems we address through CSR School. So if you have some patience, please, the floor to to Professor Petkoski, just for a few minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maria, and of course, thanks to all of you for the opportunity to join you. And thanks to the ministers, by the way, they really had such a substantive introductory remarks, which make it easier now for us to build on that. So what Maria basically asked me to share with you is the initiative between the World Bank Group and the Wharton Business School through the Zieglin Center called Idea for Action, which is a global initiative launched in 2015, just months before the launch of the Global Sustainable Development Goals. And that was very important to signal that the Global Sustainable Development Goals are not only for our generation, but also to give opportunity for young people around the world to be part of that. and to be part of that through action. Action meaning coming with specific proposals of how to address specific issues. As Maria said, in less than 30 minutes, I am joining the managing director of the World Bank through similar event to welcome the winners of the 2020 Idea for Action competition. In the last 5 years, we have already over 20,000 alumni and probably around 8,000 specific proposals on how to deal with the issues of SDGs, and of course related to CSR, and of course related to the ESGs as well. So why and how that's a big success? It's primarily because of strong local partnerships, and both in terms of corporations, private sector realize the importance of having opportunities to deal directly with younger people, not just students, but also young professionals. As the Deputy Minister mentioned, entrepreneurship, opportunities to innovate inside the companies is also a critical issue that can stimulate younger employees, younger professionals to deal with these issues. All that leads to so-called disruptive innovations, but not competing necessarily constantly with startups and entrepreneurs, but also seeing how to connect entrepreneurship with entrepreneurship so that together they can, whenever possible, of course, contribute to making also established companies more competitive, or what we usually say, future-proof. It's not just dealing with consequences of the pandemic, but making sure that the background is there. And background is there only if the companies manage to connect, in fact, integrate sustainability, being through as an entry point CSR, being ESG or SDGs into their corporate strategy. And that redefines basically everything, from organizational structure to the way how we see leadership, to culture that support entrepreneurship and so on. So that's one critical aspect, which also brings us to the fundamental issue of cross-generational collaboration. We have established company, probably my generation, baby boomer, in the middle are the millennials, and now big time, very creative, very different generation Z. How we bring all that together? So we are trying through Idea for Action initiative to make that happen. And of course, all the learnings from this initiative and the learnings we are already getting from CSR school is the way how we connect global initiative with initiative happening in a more regional or local level. Not to take much time, just the last comment, basically, that at Wharton, we are taking that extremely seriously, redefining how to connect academic excellence with solving real life problems. And that's what we've been doing in the last several years. And I'm teaching now a new capstone course on global social impact, where we are already preparing the students in their last year of study to immediately jump in solving real life problem, being as part of corporate initiative of established companies or through their new startups. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be part of the panel, and of course, in more substantive way, to be part of the school, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Petkowski. Maria, would you like to join in before we continue with our conversation?
A big thank, and really this is a critical moment, if you like, to step up to this joint effort furthermore, and just give a promise that working together with the Greek government and of course our members, we will try to bring and expand this idea to create sustainable solutions and to motivate entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship towards sustainable development. So this is a promise, and we will come back soon again. Thank you so much.
Okay, so then we are ready to move on to our discussion. And now it's a time for me to introduce some very distinguished guests and partners in this venture of CSR School. I've got people that know about education, both on a national, on a private, on a public sector as well. I've got people from representing the business world as well, or I've got people that know policies very well from the community. So without further ado, I've got with us Dr. Kostas Axarloglu. He's the Dean of Alba Graduate Business School, American College of Greece. So we'd like to welcome you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the invitation.
Great having you. And then I've got Ms. Claudia Karidis. She's the Vice President of Public Affairs from the American College of Greece. Welcome, Claudia.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Then we've got Professor Kostis Manasakis. Those of you who have seen our previous event on CSR School, you've seen him before. He's the Assistant Professor from the University of Crete. So welcome, Kostis.
Thank you very much, Avrula. Thank you.
And we've got Dr. Adonios Moudouris. He's the Head of Group Environmental Management and Sustainable Development Department from the company of Hellenic Petroleum. I would like to welcome you, Adoni, as well.
Thank you very much for the kind invitation.
And last but not least, we've got Mr. Yannis Sidiropoulos. He's a policy expert from the Hellenic Federation of Enterprises, policy expert on employment and investment. So I would like to welcome you, Yanni, as well. I hope you allow me talking to you with your first names, so we can make this more of a chat and a discussion. But although I started with the introduction of the gentleman, I will ask my first question with a lady of this panel. So Claudia, I'll start with you. Now, talking of who doesn't know American College of Greece? You've been around for many, many years now. And I would like to stay on your decision, though, to work with a business entity such as the CSR Hellas, with expertise on CSR and sustainability, but also with a public university. And because education, but partnership is also part of this conversation today, I would really like to see how you feel about how confident you were at the beginning of a partnership of this kind, especially in a country where partnerships do not always are our first choice.
That's an easy question. Thank you very much. Let me say that the American College of Greece is an academic institution that strongly believes in and develops a number of partnerships at different levels, both aiming at enhancing its educational offerings for the benefit of our students, but also to maximize our operational effectiveness. So being a member of CSR Hellas and sharing the same passion for educating the business community about sustainability-related best practices, it was only natural that we were interested and agreed on collaboration aiming at that. And we were even more enthusiastic when we saw that this collaboration would involve the University of Crete, the Greek Public University, as you said. And so I also felt, and I believe that we clicked from day one, all of us, the members of the team that initially started this collaboration, we clicked from day one with regards to our goals for this summer school and with regards to the ways to achieve them. And I believe this partnership has worked really well. We keep enhancing it and advancing it in terms of themes, speakers, and ways of communicating with our audiences. And we feel very confident, we still feel very confident that this summer school is serving a very good purpose, well needed, and that it will continue to do so in even more better ways based on the feedback we get from our participants. And let me just quickly say that I would like to take the opportunity, and on behalf of the administration of the American College of Greece, I want to thank each and every one of our partners for this excellent collaboration, and we look forward to continuing it for many years to come. And a very minor point about what you said about synergies and partnerships with public institutions. We do that, as I said, at different levels. And we shouldn't forget that we also, at the American College of Greece, at the undergraduate level, we have over 1,000 students that study with us in parallel with their studies at the Greek public universities. So we are very well engaged and very actively involved with the public universities through the students that choose to study both there and here with us. Thank you.
Claudia, do we have students that they both study in a public university and they study in a private university as well?
Yes, as I said, more than 1,000 students, 1,050 students actually last semester were studying with us while they were doing a full degree at the Greek Public University. They were taking, most of them are taking usually a minor, meaning up to 6 courses to complement their studies at the Greek University. And these are usually the top students from the Greek universities who make the extra effort to combine their studies at both institutions, which is something that is not very easy. And they add to the mix of our students. And we enjoy their feedback and their engagement because they do take part in most of the activities we organize in and out of class. And they are the ones who want to take advantage of all the opportunities offered at the American College of Greece, including our career services and access to the job market.
It's great to hear that. I'll talk to my HR people so we can, to find out who these great kids are. Let me change. So thank you, Claudia, for sharing your views. Kostis, let me get to you. And you're not only the scientific coordinator, you're representing University of Crete. And I said the other time, yet you are the scientific mind behind this. And we're very proud that you've been with us and you initially had the idea of all this school. So what's your view on partnership with a private entity on education? And also a second question would be, do things change? Do we integrate the sustainability aspects into business schools, but not only in business schools, but because sustainability is gaining so much attention, do we have all these aspects incorporated into the curriculum?
Thank you, Stavroula. Thank you all for being here in this live discussion. First of all, I would like to thank CSR Hellas for its consistent support of this idea. And for this year's CSR school, we have the auspices from the Ministry of Development and the Ministry of Finance. And this is something great because this signals in a very robust way that our approach combining an educational part and integrating the practitioner's point of view within the educational DNA about corporate responsibility and sustainability is in the right direction. So it is precisely these auspices signal the upgrade of our school, and I think that we can move towards discussion for obtaining a more institutional status of this partnership of this school. Now, regarding the cooperation, we have already mentioned that this is not a typical case in Greece. A public university and a private university under the umbrella of a business organization, but I'm very happy that I'm part of this innovative, let's say, approach, and I hope to see more to come soon. But why can we characterize this innovative partnership to be a successful one? I think that the answer is clear. This school as a partnership addresses in a very effective way the needs of current graduate students, managers, and business professionals in the fields of corporate responsibility and sustainability. So this partnership is successful because it, first of all, it has identified the gaps, the existing gaps in companies and graduate studies, as well as we don't stay in the identification of these gaps. We offer robust tools, well analyzed from a scientific point of view and well positioned in corporate processes for the fulfillment of these identified needs. This is the core substance behind the running of this school and the successful paradigm, let's say. Now, where are we in terms of integrating sustainability in universities, in university studies? Unfortunately, the integration is not fast, but at the same time, the integration of responsibility and sustainability in the corporate world is not as fast as we would like it to see it happening. So economics, business, finance, banking, human resources, logistics, and other sub fields in economics and management are in a transition. These fields are now being written again through the sustainability and responsibility lens. Okay, so we are waiting the new, let's say, the new economic analysis, which will contain in its DNA the issues of sustainability and responsibility. So we are waiting sustainability and responsibility to become part of business as usual, because for the time being, we are in a business unusual mode. So when responsibility and sustainability become part of the DNA of business as usual, at that time, we will have the opportunity to see curriculums, university studies to be more mature with respect to the adoption of responsibility and sustainability as a mainstream field. So this is my personal point of view.
Well, I hope it happens fast, because I can give you the business perspective. I've got a lot of people calling me from the sustainability market. Mm-hmm. There are not a lot of people out there who actually know to run a sustainability team. Mm-hmm. We've got a lot of people with experience on social programs and initiatives, but we don't have it from a technocratic point of view to talk about sustainable finance, to talk about supply chain, climate change, circular economy, and so on. So we have a problem at the moment finding people with a good knowledge out there. So that brings me, so thank you, Kostis, and that brings me to the part of the private entity. And it's great to be able to combine the views here, which I think have a very common base. So Kostas, my question to you would be on two levels. The first question is similar to what I asked with Kostis. What's the perspective from the side of a private university if you see that the sustainability agenda is integrated or is being integrated currently, and if it's going fast or if we need to speed up? And the second comes to you with your hat as a dean of ALBA, and we've seen this in the last few years of the developments of the school, the American College of Greece, and maybe it would be interesting for you to explain the connection of ALBA and American College of Greece. You brought the participation of ALBA. What other developments do we have added in this participation?
Yeah, thank you, Stavroula, for inviting me and CSR and LAS. I could only second Kostis' point about the particular collaboration that really has a lot of value, and there is a reason for it. And we take pride of it. Now, in terms of the school and the sustainability in the country, I think that we are still in the awareness phase. And Savrola, you are very correct saying, well, we're looking for talent, but we are still trying to understand what sustainability is in the country, right? Now, what the CSR school tries to do is that we try to go a few steps ahead. And if you see the evolution of the school itself, and give me a second to mention that, is that initially the school started on with the awareness scope to talk about what sustainability is, what is important, why we should care about. But now the school, after 3 years, is moving towards professional development. What it means for me, what it means for me as a leader, right? What should I do, right? And in terms of the professional development, I think that there are 2 aspects. One aspect is skills and competencies. The minister talked about sustainable finance. How should I incorporate sustainability in my budgets, in my P&Ls and so on, so that I can receive funding, right, from investors. But also, which I think is more important and more difficult and more challenging, I would say, is how you develop a mindset, a set of values and attitudes towards sustainability. How, in other words, I can change the view of the world. So, and that's, I think, that the most important part. And what the school tries to do now, gradually, right, in its 3rd year, is to put some emphasis on that as well. Now, having said that, I go back to the ecosystem we have developed to offer this program. As you can see, it's an ecosystem between the public university, a private school, private university, and the business community, CSR-LS. And in my mind, universities have the same scope, even if they're public or non-public or private. And so we're a non-for-profit school. We don't have owners, right? So we have the same scope and mission with a public university. That's why we can collaborate very well with a public university. There, if you develop this kind of ecosystem between schools and the business community, then the development and the knowledge and the education, it is emerging. It is not a top-down necessarily. Come and I'll tell you what sustainability means, but it is emerging through this collaboration that is a very productive collaboration. And only through that, you can see changes in attitudes and perspectives of the people. So I think that this particular CSR school has this kind of if you like, value. And we are all, the stakeholders, we are joining our forces under the same purpose to offer value to the society, because that's the purpose of the school, to support the society. We serve the society. Right? Now, ALBA, being part of the American College of Greece, we are the graduate business school of Greece, together as part of the American College of Greece and the American College of Greece, we always try to become game changers with the means we have. And we invest on sustainability. At the American College of Greece, the Center of Excellence, Claudia is leading on sustainability, works for several years now. Soon at ALBA, we will announce an endowed chair on sustainability. So we invest on the topic. We invest on resources because we need to contribute our share along, not alone, along with everybody else, along with the other stakeholders, on something that is a mind changer, if I can say so, sustainability. And that's the important part. And that's why we take pride of this particular collaboration and the particular school, of course.
Kostas, I couldn't agree with you more. It's a mind changer. And even when you work in a company, that you need to know how to deal with people talking about energy consumption, and then you need to talk to your legal people or your compliance people, and then to the marketing and the HR. You need a lot of hats. So it's mostly a mindset. I don't know if it's ever going to be a degree, but even if we're going to have a degree on that, and we've got master courses and so on, it's a set of an attitude. You're absolutely right. Now, Adoni, let me get to you. You're representing a huge company, a very important company. And I can see you working on the environmental management, very tough job, I'm sure, working for Hellenic Petroleum. Now, and from my experience as well, I've seen that there's a huge shift from what CR and sustainability means for a company. So we've got companies that they've got practices in education, like scholarships or the training programs for employees. And it's not only recently, depending on the maturity level, we've seen that the regulatory framework is changing. And now companies they do need a more strategic ESG strategy. So people, instead of talking about educational initiatives and CSR programs, they talk about ESG criteria for investors. So how do large companies experience this shift? Do you agree there is a shift? And what's your experience on that?
I totally agree. There is a huge transformation, let's say, in the business community. First of all, I would like to thank you again for the kind invitation to this event, where we have the chance to communicate our views as, let's say, an introductory session of corporate responsibility and sustainability summer school. In today's competitive environment, leading companies from all sectors, including energy sector, are recognizing that human, natural, and social capital, in addition to financial capital, needs to be measured and managed diligently. Organizations that improve their performance on environmental, social, and governance issues have improved access to capital, stronger employee engagement, customer satisfaction, and community relations. More broadly, the business community has come to the realization, let's say, that sustainable business growth can only be achieved in an environment where local communities and the broader society succeed and thrive. So, ESG, as you know, is a term that investors today commonly use to describe the sustainability or corporate responsibility strategy and programs as we knew it in the past in the business community. ESG may impact a company's ability to execute its business strategy, create value over the long term, and secure the company's license to operate. And someone can call ESG factors as non-financial ones, but how a company manages them, without a doubt, has measurable financial consequences, and this is clear to all companies, I think. From a management perspective, integration of ESG dimensions of performance makes a company more resilient, let's say, in an increasingly more complex, interconnected, and dynamic business environment. In addition, corporate transparency and responsiveness to stakeholder needs secures the company a license to operate, a social license to operate. So I totally agree that the whole environment has been changed the last years. Regarding our participation, our support to summer school, this is the third year we support CSR summer school, which trains students and professionals, the next business executives, let's say, to enhance their knowledge of corporate responsibility and sustainability issues. This summer school is a great example, a very important example, because it promotes sustainability to new executives, aiming to place it at a central position, let's say, in the business strategy. The young generation is always at the center of the group's programs by awarding scholarship to young people. Hellenic Petroleum, from 2013 until today, has awarded merit scholarship to 72 postgraduate scholarships with a maximum duration of 2 years in the English language programs of international universities in Europe and the United States. And also the group develops sponsorship partnerships with Greek universities for postgraduate studies. Also, in the same context of sustainability initiatives and, let's say, programs, the group rewards the best of the neighboring municipalities with a program rewarding new admissions to higher education. This program took place this year for the 13th consecutive year, and 3,500 students have been awarded to date. Finally, by recognizing the importance of Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development and the 17 goals, also we have created an educational game, namely Earth 2030, that travels in 17 islands of the country in collaboration with an NGO, Agony Grami Gonimi, and that, let's say, help all the people to encourage schools to deepen, among others, in one of the some of the 7 goals of SDGs. And in the same context, also, we have created a digital quiz game with the educational material of the Earth 2030 suitcase. This is an indicative, these are some indicative examples how we see, let's say, the sustainability initiatives towards young community. And let's say that this is a part of the transformation, as you said before.
Thank you, Adoni. Thank you. We've seen a private university and a public university and the business world. And now I move on to Yannis, representing a very important federation, the Hellenic Federation of Enterprises, with expertise in policies. And Yannis, my question to you, we've been talking about skills when it comes to sustainability. And on a research level, we've seen that there is a gap of skills identified related to sustainability. Now, you've dealt with the issue as an organization. Is this the case? Do you agree?
Thank you, Stavroula, for your question. Good afternoon to everybody, and congratulations for this organization and this initiative. Discussing about gap skills, at first we should ask ourselves, is it about skills or is it about education? This is very important to define, because as you said, Stavroula, do we need a more technocratic approach to develop our finance people, our legal people, in order to include sustainable issues in their daily activities? Or is it more to what Dean said, we are in awareness area, I would say, in our country, because in Europe, it's not awareness. We are in Europe also. So is it skill or is it education? Do we need to invest in technical skills acquisition, or do we need to move towards a broader approach, the pillar of so-called soft skills or culture or attitudes or things like that? We in human resources, we are very inventive in these areas. So, as an example, is it necessary to train an architect, a civil engineer on how to design and build a house under the principles of sustainability? Or use as much as possible recycled materials, things like that, technocratic issues? Or is it about educating homeowners on how to spend their lives into their home in a sustainable way? In my point of view, and in our point of view, it is not an issue of either this or that. Definitely, in nowadays, it is this and that. As mentioned by Antonis, we are not looking always inside our companies and our department, finance, legal, human resources, etc. But we should look at our customers in the society. Customers drive our existence. So, in your question, the answer is yes. Definitely, there is a skill gap. We see a gap in skills, both in technicals and in soft skills. Typical education, starting from elementary schools, need to broaden the content of their courses. And of course, at the university level, this is more specific. It's a series of very specialized technical curricula. Definitely, this is the case, at least in this age. Within the business environment, there is a lot of attention that we should give to employees and to workers, not to exclude self-employed people, because we are all in business community, on behavioral issues, on how to perform their duties, our daily activities, our role in the company and in the society, of course. This and what I'm going to say now comes from my HR background. This includes also changes in job roles, in outcomes, what we expect from our job, work organization, performance management systems, investment, company investments, etc. So minimizing skills gap, mismatching towards sustainability goals includes all the typical issues of vocational training. That means content, how do your respective universities develop their curricula, their training methods, including distance learning as we do it now, or micro-credentials, or whatever this extremely, I would say, successful business model that you invented in your summer school, and certification, credential, maybe this linked to professional rights. And this is the same as all other training issues. So yes, concluding, yes, there is a skill gap. The skill gap is not only within the company, the skill gap also includes the society and includes also and our customers. We have the responsibility to help our customers become more and more responsible towards the society that we all live. And I think it's a very big opportunity for the researchers to find out and study more on how we, within our environment, define about our sustainable goals. Do we ask ourselves as we do it normally, or do we also ask our customers and the society in general, what do they expect from us? Thank you.
It's definitely a holistic approach. Working for a company with millions of customers, I can tell you that they show us the way. If they demand us, if let's say we were not thinking about going that way, customers can move how companies act. So I can't agree with you more. And from your HR perspective, if somebody asked me today, what is the #1 skill that somebody has to have to become a sustainability officer, I would say agility and adaptability, because it doesn't work if I know everything perfectly in every technical depth. I need to be able to adjust and speak the language of each organizational unit in order to educate them, to explain in their own language. I cannot speak to finance people with the same way that I would speak to our marketing people. So for me, I can see that that plays an important role. And now let me go to a second question. And because I can see from the time that we've got only 10 minutes left, I would kindly ask you for a short answer on this. And Claudia, I'll get back to you. We've been talking about higher education all this time. But is there a chance that we need to start earlier than that? I mean, I've never started a conversation about education on the younger age groups. Do you think we should start the education earlier than we do now?
Let me unmute. Definitely, we should start earlier, as Mrs. Sidiropoulos said earlier, from elementary. I would even say from kindergarten. Let me first clarify something. ACG is currently the only academic institution in Greece that systematically measures the way it approaches sustainability. And we have achieved the STARS Gold rating, meaning we measured our performance in 5 categories. Academics is one of them, and I will get back to that. Operations is the second one. Community engagement and social responsibility is the third. Planning and administration is the fourth, and the fifth is innovation and leadership. The rating and distinction comes from the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education, which is actually an international body measuring more than 900 academic institutions globally. And we are the only one in Greece to be measured through this system. Our academics at the level of the tertiary education are measured through this system. And we do offer a number of offerings and learning outcomes through our courses and academic programs overall. But yes, I believe that education about sustainable development best practices should start from as early as possible, from the early years, as I said, from kindergarten. The kids are able to absorb at an early age much better, everything that they need to know in terms of how they should, and this begins at home actually, and we shouldn't miss the opportunity to do this at an early age at school and teach them how to respect the overall environment, their school, their homes, their families, their peers, and overall teach them how to behave responsibly, to continue learning, and to continue throughout their lives adopting more and more good habits. ACG doesn't have the school ages, kindergarten and elementary, at least not yet. But from day one, we try to educate and inform our high school students on, and have them work actually on projects about relevant current issues, climate change, water management, pollution, elimination of single-use plastics, all kinds of environmental concerns. But most importantly, our students are exposed and engaged from day one at school, from Proti Gymnasiou, in a number of voluntary activities, and they get to learn about a number of NGOs and philanthropic organizations, and they get to engage in supporting them practically in various ways. We have even gone to the extent of supporting a school in Myanmar, but this is a big story. After all, the motto of our school since its founding in 1875, because this is when the American College of Greece was founded, was to serve, not to be served. And this motto and overall philosophy is instilled in all our students before they graduate and they leave our school. And even at the very end, during commencement, at their graduation, they get to agree on a pledge. They sign, let's say, a pledge, and they wear this green ribbon that says ACG Cares during graduation. And this ribbon signifies very broadly their commitment to work towards a sustainable future, country and globe and world based on what they learned in our school. So yes, it should start as early as possible.
I'll keep that in mind. I've got a son, he's 8. I've already started. I don't always succeed, but I'll keep working on this. So thank you, Claudia. Kostis, let me get back to you, because you're preparing the students for the labor market. And my question would be, do you really think that the university meets the needs that the students need for the labor market, always in relation to sustainability and responsibility? And is there something missing? Do we need to change anything? Do we do everything perfectly?
One of the things that are missing for sure is the establishment of bridges between universities and real markets. So independently of my or other colleagues' attempts to educate in a robust way students and preparing them towards managerial practice, economic analysis practice, responsibility and sustainability practice, this is not enough. So there is need for taking care of these gaps, and there are some good practices like our school, of course, but I think that given that the first step has already been done, given the auspices of the two ministries, I think that there is an excellent opportunity to open a discussion in Greece for the incorporation of sustainability and responsibility, even from the kindergarten and primary schools, because these students are already consumers. Okay, although they do not have their own budget, they consume through their parents. So if we introduce responsibility and sustainability into this type of consumers mindset, we may see multiplying effects, not only in their own consumer behavior, but I also see 5-year-old children like my daughter as a driver for change of their parents. So we can, instead of expecting from parents to to direct children, it may work the other way. Children, let's say, incentivize and motivate parents in a more responsible and sustainable way of consumption.
You're right. I can assure you for that as well. And it's a very interesting point of view. Instead of just parents showing the way, they will be able to show us the way as well. So Costa, let me get back to you as the Dean of Alba. Has the demand for sustainability training increased? And if it has increased, name us the skills that people are looking for.
Well, the answer is no. The answer is no, because I think we still feel we are still in this country in the phase of awareness, right? The majority of us, we don't know much about it. And now we try to understand what's going on. On the other hand, I think that academic institutions, in some way, we are a bit conservative. Not because we don't like change, but because we would like to make sure that whatever we do, everything is perfect, everything is clear, we analyze things and so on. So it takes some time to adjust, unless we collaborate with the community, unless, as a business school, we collaborate with the business world. At Alba, we have a very strong executive education department. We work with Hellenic Petroleum to offer training. We work with OTE to offer training. We work with SEV to offer a very impactful collaboration, Mazistik Gnosi. And we learn from you guys. And now, in this learning, we start developing our own curricula faster than otherwise being, and Kostis mentioned that, this collaboration between schools and the business world. So yes, we do offer learning initiatives towards sustainability. We are about to launch an MSc in sustainability, if as a kind of a formal way to educate people. Because Yannis talked about education, I very much agree with you, Yannis. We talk about education, not training in this case. And in all of our programs, no matter what, we have various learning and development initiatives that develop the necessary competencies and mindsets for sustainability, including CSR, ethics, agility and adaptability, as you mentioned, Stavroula, right? Social responsibility, emotional intelligence, because at the end of the day, sustainability means to transcend myself from a self-purpose to a common purpose. That's what sustainability is all about, to a shared purpose, right? And if we manage to help ourselves and our students to change that mindset from I to we, από το εγώ στο εμείς, like Makrigiannis used to say, now we have the 200 years of celebration of our revolution, then we really help the society moving forward. And we do that in collaborative spirit. We cannot do it alone. If we do it alone, schools, we will fall behind, and always we will be talking about skill gaps. We have to work together, all the stakeholders, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Greatly put. Shared vision. Από το εγώ στο εμείς. Now, Adoni, let me get your perspective from your business point of view. Are the skills that you've heard are really the skills that you're looking for when you want to deal with sustainability issues in a company? I mean, does the private and the public sector from the educational part gives us something which works for a business, or is it a different case?
Yes, first of all, I totally agree that we have to work all together in the company. Okay, it's in my view, sustainability is not a separate function in a company. It's not an independent issue. It's required to be integrated into every function, every strategic objective, every investment decision of a company. For example, an engineer has to consider sustainability options in the design of a process or a product in order to produce less waste and lower emissions. A financial analyst of a company has to recognize and to be able to estimate the financial consequences of several business decisions with respect to their ESG and sustainability aspects. And also a manager has to prioritize long-term value creation over short-term gain. So yes, you need skills, you need training, and personally, as a chemical engineer, I have a very good background on environmental processes, let's say, emission abatement techniques, natural resources efficiency, but this is not enough when you have to address many interconnected challenges linked to different stakeholders, including, for example, governance focused on environmental issues such as climate change, environmental degradation, and many also social issues, such as inequalities. So my view is that all colleagues, irrespective of, let's say, the main background, have to keep themselves up to date in a lifelong learning framework. It's a lifelong experience. You have to read a lot of articles. You have to let's say, to have a lot of newsletters every day in your mailbox. Okay, and every training program also, irrespective of the main scientific file, the engineering, finance, management, or social sciences, has to include specific modules concerning sustainability issues and to show the way they can contribute to achieving broader sustainability goals. How can I say better? We need engineers, financial analysts, managers, lawyers, accountants with knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes to address all sustainability challenges and opportunities.
It's a lifelong learning process. I agree. You mentioned something about long-term value versus short-term, and I would like to be the devil's advocate. Usually in a business, when you talk about long-term value, people, they're not closing their ears, but they're really eager on the short term, especially when you're out in the market and you need to bring the numbers in, you need to show good results. So it takes maturity. You cannot change that very quickly. So I agree with you. It is a long-term target.
Believe
so
me, this is changing. This is changing, believe me.
It does. It does. I live through that now. Actually, it's great and it's changing exponentially. I never thought that it would change so quickly. And this is great news. So Yanni, so thank you, Adoni. And Yanni, let me conclude with your part as well. If we agree today that we've got, I don't know if we've got a gap on the skills, but we definitely need to work around this area. What would be the area that you would close first? If there is a gap in skills, what can we do first? And then federations like said, can they assist the companies they work with? Do we have to solve everything on our own? Can you do something for us?
The most difficult issue is to accept your tricky question. Because if I accept that what is the most easy to close the gap means that I have assessed everything. I know exactly what do we need. I know exactly what is the situation in my company, in the society, and I know the way how to close the gap. These, as Dean said previously, are still questions in our society, in our day, and we don't know. So I challenge your tricky question. I don't ask it. I don't answer it. But I can say, I can change my answer in a different way. I can for sure tell you that there is one thing that we have to do it immediately. Incorporate sustainability in our job roles, in our job goals, in our management performance systems. Otherwise, we will not succeed at all. This is for sure. Second, we have to measure. My professors at the universities dating 30 years ago and Dean 5 years ago emphasized, how do you measure? What is your goal? So if we don't incorporate everything in our activities and if we don't measure and set goals, definitely we will not succeed. And how do we start? I would say the easiest way. Start from within your company, start from production and logistics department, but put the decision role and the driving efforts to marketing. It's a long-term issue. It's not a short-term. Otherwise, the accountants will lead the failure. I don't have anything against the accountants, of course, but it's my belief that it's a long term. And since it's a long term, it's top management decision. And if it's top management decision, top employee representative, which is SEV, it's our role also to do everything that we can. And there are a lot of actions that we already have with ALBA, with IVP, with all our association, universities, and training providers, but it's not only training. It's a series of actions. Thank you.
We'll keep that in mind, Yannis. Very well put. I'll get back to you about the marketing department and the logistics and products, and not only finance, because we don't have time to develop the discussion on this, but I'll keep it aside and I'll come back to you. So this is it pretty much. I really enjoyed our conversation, not only as a representative of the board of CSR Hellas, but also on a personal level. And I would firstly like, there are some questions, but Alex, do you want to give me some guidance? Do you want us to get one question, or do you want us to close because it's 4:36? Or Ariadne?
I'm sorry.
Claudia, do you need to leave us?
We are running out of time.
Okay. So Claudia, thank you. Kostas, thank you. Kosti, Adoni, Yanni, thank you very much. I would like to thank also all our partners, all our sponsors as well. Namely, you can all see them here. I'm not going to name everybody, but you can see the co-organizers, our supporters, our sponsors as well. And of course, this is under the auspices of the government. And just a reminder, we're starting the CSR School on June 15th. So if you haven't already done that, rush, and you can still enroll. Thank you all. It's been great talking to you today.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.